Well, the first returns are coming in on the WNBA All-Star voting. Of course, it will be in Indianapolis. And as you can imagine, Caitlin Clark is leading the All-Star vote. By the way, it looks like a massive turnout, to be honest. Second straight year that Clark has led the fan voting. She was second in early returns in fan voting in 2024, but jumped to first with around 700,000 total votes by the end of the period. So I'm wondering, are we going to see 1 million votes this time? Because I saw somebody earlier that said, so far, voting is actually way up versus exactly where we was at this time last year. Caitlin Clark has 3 times the amount of votes. 3 times the amount of votes as Angel Reese. So, there you go. I suspect Sophie Cunningham's numbers are going to grow.
Hi, Angel. David Moses with the Bigs Media. Last year, you made a powerful statement saying the reason people are watching women's basketball is not just because of one player, but because of you two. A year later, do you feel like you're
Next question.
Yeah, we'll move on. Thank you. Move on to Zoom.
Enough to tell you where Angel Reese's place is. Well, it's 13th place. And I can tell you right now, Jonquel Jones ought to be ahead of her.
They said she was the face of the league. They said she was the reason people were watching. They said Angel Reese was about to become a household name. Well, the fans just delivered their verdict, and it's not what the media wants you to hear. If you think this is just another WNBA story, you're wrong. This is about what happens when marketing collides with reality, when hype meets the hardwood, and when fans finally get their say. Hit that like button if you're ready for the truth the mainstream media won't tell you. Picture this. Over 500,000 votes pour in for the WNBA All-Star game. Caitlin Clark sits at the top with 513,993 votes, commanding the polls like she commands the court. Meanwhile, the so-called face of the league, Angel Reese, doesn't even crack the top 10.
Angel Reese is the most unskilled basketball player in the history of basketball, in my opinion.
There is obviously no way Angel can compare to Caitlin Clark as a shooter or a passer. And there is no way Angel can live up to her dynamic social media / podcast presence as a shooter or a passer or even a shot blocker. She's blocked only 2 shots so far this season. She doesn't even do that.
She has energy. She has an attitude. She'll rebound you the basketball. Great. Nothing else. She has nothing. She's got self-awareness. She knows that she's not a very good basketball player.
They continue to talk a good game instead of being about a good game. This is fan voting. This is literally vote for who you are a fan of. Vote for who you're a fan of, or vote for who you think is most worthy. Vote for who you're a fan of. Vote for who you think is most worthy. Vote for who you think are the stars in this league. Angel Reese fans, you guys aren't fans of her? You don't think she's most worthy? You don't think she's a star in this league?
Not only is the self-proclaimed Barbie not in the lead, Angel Reese isn't even close to making the top 10.
Let's see. Fan voting runs through the 28th. Culmination of fan voting, 50%. Player votes, 25%. And media votes. Oh, that's going to be where Angel Reese makes her move. Media votes, 25%, will determine the All-Star starters. Looking right at you, CBS. You still ain't released the ratings.
I know Kelsey Plum is likable. She's a lovely lady, but you mean to tell me she's more popular than Angel Reese? The same Angel Reese who has been begging, and I mean begging, people on social media to vote for her? Angel Reese, number 13 on the list, 173,000 votes.
Feesey Collier, who is probably the leader of the MVP pack right now, is at 485,000. Aaliyah Boston is third, 447,000, as she should be. Aaliyah should get some MVP conversation, I'm going to be honest.
She's sitting at number 13 with just 173,363 votes. That's not a gap, that's a canyon. And before you say it's just one poll, let me paint you the full picture. For months, we've been told Angel Reese is the engine driving WNBA growth. Forbes literally published articles crowning her as the key figure in the league's explosion while conveniently leaving Caitlin Clark out of the conversation. Sports shows treated her like basketball royalty. Social media accounts pushed her highlights like she was dropping 40 points a night. But here's what they didn't tell you. She's shooting 37.8% from the field this season. That's down from last year's already concerning 39%. And we're not talking about contested threes here. We're talking about shots from within 5 feet of the basket. The numbers tell a story the media doesn't want to share. 85% of Reese's shots come from inside 5 feet, yet she's only making 33% of them. That's not a typo. 1 out of every 3 shots from point-blank range. In basketball terms, that's like a chef burning toast. It's the basics, and she's struggling with them. Meanwhile, she leads the league in offensive rebounds with 5.7 per game. Sounds impressive until you realize many of those rebounds are coming off her own misses. Social media has even created a new stat for it. They call them me-bounds, as in me grabbing my own rebound because I can't make a layup. But wait, it gets more interesting. While Reese was being marketed as the face of the league, actual basketball was happening. Nafisa Collier pulled in 484,758 votes, while leading the league in scoring. Aaliyah Boston got 446,961 votes as a two-way force who can actually finish at the rim. Even rookies like Kiki Iriafen are outpacing the supposed superstar with over 213,000 votes. And here's the kicker. Lexi Hull, a role player for the Fever, has more All-Star votes than Angel Reese. Let that sink in for a moment. The Chicago Sky are 3-11 this season. They have the second worst offensive rating in the league, and their defense isn't much better. This is the team that was supposed to be built around Reese. They brought in veteran All-Stars like Ariel Atkins and Courtney Vandersloot. They hired a new coach in Tyler Marsh. Everything was set up for Reese to shine. Instead, the Sky are free-falling, while their supposed franchise player puts up 11 points on historically bad shooting percentages. Remember when Reese told the world she was the reason people were watching women's basketball? That wasn't just confidence, that was a declaration. She positioned herself as Caitlin Clark's equal, maybe even her superior in terms of cultural impact. The media ate it up. They loved the narrative of two stars elevating the game together. Except the fans weren't buying what they were selling. When it came time to vote, they spoke with their ballots. Clark's 510 to 993 votes versus Reese's 173,363. That's not competition, that's domination. Let's talk about what actually drives fan interest. Performance matters. Caitlin Clark averages 19.9 points and 8.7 assists per game. She's second in the entire league in assists. She hits shots from 30 feet out like they're layups. She makes her teammates better. She fills arenas. When she plays, attendance spikes. When she doesn't, you can hear crickets. That's star power backed by substance. Meanwhile, Reese averages 11 points and shoots worse than most centers did in the 1960s. The disconnect between media narrative and fan reality has never been clearer. For 2 years, we've watched coordinated campaigns to elevate Reese's profile. She got endorsement deals with major brands. She launched podcasts. She appeared at fashion weeks and red carpets. Good American made her the face of their denim campaign. Beats by Dre, McDonald's, Reebok, they all jumped on board. The machinery of modern sports marketing went into overdrive. But you can't market your way to greatness. You have to earn it between the lines. Here's where it gets really interesting. Even other rookies are leaving Reese in the dust. Paige Buchers, playing for the last-place Dallas Wings, has more fan support. Think about that. A player on the worst team in the league is more popular than the supposed face of the sport. It's not about team success. It's about individual impact and authentic connection with fans. Buechers shows flashes of brilliance that make people believe. Reese shows flashes of her own misses bouncing back to her. The media's response to these voting results has been telling. Instead of acknowledging the obvious disconnect, they've doubled down. Some outlets barely mentioned the voting results. Others buried Reese's poor showing deep in their articles. The same journalists who spent months building her up suddenly went quiet when the fans delivered their verdict. It's almost like they're more invested in the narrative than the truth. But the fans see through it all. They're not fooled by carefully crafted social media campaigns or strategic podcast appearances. They want to see buckets. They want to see wins. They want to see players who elevate their teams and the game itself. Missing layups and grabbing your own rebounds might pad your stats, but it doesn't win hearts or votes. The WNBA fanbase has proven they're more sophisticated than anyone gave them credit for. Subscribe to this channel right now if you want more unfiltered truth about what's really happening in professional sports, because we're just getting started. The All-Star voting breakdown reveals something deeper about the state of women's basketball. This isn't about hating on Angel Reese. It's about recognizing that authentic star power can't be manufactured. You can't force-feed audiences a narrative and expect them to swallow it whole. Fans have options now. They have access to stats, highlights, and full games. They can see who's really making an impact and who's just making noise. Consider the voting mechanics. Fans account for 50% of the selection process, while players and media each contribute 25%. This gives fans the loudest voice, and they used it to send a clear message. Even if Reese somehow makes the team through player and coach votes, the damage is done. The Emperor has no clothes, and everyone can see it. Being the 13th most popular player when you're marketed as top 2 is a public relations disaster. What makes this even more remarkable is the sheer volume of votes this year. The WNBA is seeing record participation in All-Star voting. 19 players already have over 100,000 votes. Back in 2023, no player even reached that mark. The league is growing. Interest is exploding. But it's not because of who the media says it is. It's because of players who deliver when it matters. Players who make you jump out of your seat. Players who justify the price of admission. The Caitlin Clark effect is real and it's measurable. When she plays, ratings spike. When she travels, road arenas sell out. When she's on national television, casual fans tune in. She's appointment viewing in a league that's fought for decades to achieve that status. But instead of celebrating this organic growth, certain media members tried to prop up an alternative narrative. They wanted to believe 2 stars were better than 1, even if one of those stars shoots like they're wearing a blindfold. Angel Reese's struggles aren't just about missing shots. It's about the growing gap between perception and reality. She talks like a superstar, carries herself like a superstar, gets marketed like a superstar, but plays like a role player with good rebounding instincts. In the NBA, Dennis Rodman could get away with that because he was an elite defender and played alongside actual scorers. Reese is neither an elite defender nor surrounded by enough firepower to hide her offensive limitations. The me-bounds phenomenon perfectly captures this disconnect. When fans create mocking nicknames for your signature move, you've got problems. It's one thing to be a hustle player who crashes the boards. It's another to inflate your rebounding numbers by repeatedly missing point-blank shots. One fan group has been betting on Reese to miss her first field goal attempt, and they've won 6 straight times. When gambling on your failures becomes profitable, it's time for serious self-reflection. Yet the hype machine keeps churning. Just last week, Reese was posting on social media reminding people to vote for her on double voting days. The desperation was palpable. Here's someone who claimed to be the reason people watch, literally begging for votes. The comments section was brutal. Fans pointed out the irony of someone who shoots 37% asking for support like she's running for office. The joke writes itself. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark doesn't have to beg for anything. Her game does the talking. She shows up, drops 20 and 10, hits a couple of deep threes that make the crowd lose their minds, and goes home. No elaborate social media campaigns needed. No victim narratives required, just pure, undeniable basketball excellence that translates to butts in seats and eyes on screens. That's the difference between manufactured fame and earned respect. The financial implications of this voting disparity are staggering. Brands that bet big on Reese must be sweating right now. How do you justify marketing campaigns built around the 13th most popular player? How do you explain to shareholders that your spokesperson can't crack the top 10 in their own sport? The disconnect between marketing spend and actual fan interest is a cautionary tale for anyone trying to artificially inflate an athlete's profile. This brings us to the bigger question. How did we get here? How did the media become so disconnected from fans' sentiment? The answer lies in the dangerous combination of narrative building and wishful thinking. Certain media members wanted the Reese-Clark rivalry to be Bird Magic 2.0. They needed it for storylines, for content, for clicks. But rivalries require 2 elite players, not one elite player, and one who leads the league in missed layups. The coaching situation adds another layer to this story. Tyler Marsh has tried everything to maximize Reese's impact. Different lineups, different roles, different offensive sets. Nothing seems to work because the fundamental problem remains. You can't scheme around someone who can't make basic shots. You can't build a winning culture around empty stats and social media presence. The Sky's record reflects this reality, and no amount of spin can change that. Even Reese's teammates must be frustrated. Imagine working to get good position, making the right pass, only to watch your supposed star player miss from 2 feet away. Then watch her grab her own rebound and miss again. And again. It's demoralizing for everyone involved. No wonder the Sky can't string together wins. Their offensive philosophy has devolved into hoping Reese eventually makes one of her multiple attempts. The contrast with other young players is stark. Aaliyah Boston has developed a reliable mid-range game to complement her interior presence. Kiki Iriafen shows polish beyond her years. Even Lexi Hull, despite limited opportunities, makes the most of her minutes with efficient shooting and smart play. These players understand that impact isn't measured in volume but in effectiveness. Quality over quantity seems to be a foreign concept in Chicago. Let's address the elephant in the room. Some will claim this is about bias or unfair treatment, but numbers don't lie. 37% shooting for a post player is objectively terrible. Being outscored by your rebound average is embarrassing. Having rookies and role players outvote you despite massive media support is telling. This isn't about anything other than basketball performance and its direct correlation to fan interest. The WNBA deserves better than manufactured storylines. It's a league filled with incredible athletes who've worked their entire lives to compete at the highest level. When media members try to force narratives that don't align with on-court reality, it undermines the genuine growth happening in women's basketball. Fans aren't stupid. They can see who's real and who's all talk. The All-Star voting proves it beyond any doubt. Looking ahead, this should serve as a wake-up call for everyone involved. For Reese, it's time to stop talking and start making shots. Work on your form. Develop a consistent touch around the rim. Add something, anything, to your offensive repertoire beyond offensive rebounds. For the media, maybe consider covering players based on their actual impact rather than their social media following. Novel concept, right? For the league, this is actually good news. Fan engagement is at an all-time high. People care enough to vote in record numbers. They're invested in the product and making their voices heard. The fact that they're rejecting manufactured narratives in favor of authentic excellence shows a mature, discerning fan base. That's exactly what you want for long-term growth and sustainability. The lesson here is simple, but powerful. You can't fake greatness. You can't market your way to the top. You can't claim credit for growth you didn't create. At some point, the ball goes through the hoop or it doesn't. The scoreboard doesn't care about your Instagram followers or your endorsement deals. Neither do the fans, as these voting results clearly demonstrate. This All-Star voting isn't just about one game in July. It's a referendum on what fans actually value in professional sports. They want substance over style, performance over personality, wins over social media wins. Caitlin Clark delivers all of that. Angel Reese, despite all the hype and hoopla, delivers me-bounds and missed layups. The votes simply reflect that reality. As we wrap up, remember this moment. Remember when fans finally got to have their say without media filter or narrative spin? Remember when 500,000 people looked at the evidence and made their choice clear? The myth has been exposed, the narrative has crumbled, and somewhere in Chicago, reality is setting in one missed layup at a time. If you made it this far, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Share this video with everyone who needs to hear the truth about what's really driving WNBA growth. Comment below with your thoughts on these shocking voting results. And remember, in basketball as in life, performance beats propaganda every single time. The fans have spoken, and their message is crystal clear. Some players earn their spotlight, others just stand in it. The difference is written in the vote tallies for everyone to see.